What's going on, people? Georgio Savvides here, founder of the Hip Hop Orchestra, as well as the host of the Hip Hop Orchestra Presents podcast. And I got a really exciting announcement to finally make with everyone, is that we have our very first official sponsor for the podcast. Now, they are an amazing company called Odin's Vote, who are extremely dedicated in bringing you the very best in officially licensed merchandise from pop culture. And when I mean the very best, I mean the very best. They provide things like keyrings, caps, t-shirts, to Funko Pops, to statues from all over, such as DC, Marvel, Disney, The Mandalorian, Harry Potter, music artists from all over the place, and they are ridiculously good. I've got a couple of things to show you on offer at the moment. This trust with their stuff is amazing. So, t-shirts, like I mentioned, like the one I'm wearing right now. It's got Rocky right here, which I absolutely love. Or, like I said, also got Funko Pops as well, 3.75 inches and 10 inches. I've got a couple of 10 inches right here for you. I've got Post Malone right here, and I've also got Biggie right here, who I absolutely love. These are so sick. Odin's Vote, trust me, they are amazing. Now, I'm going to leave the link below in the video right here, and also in the description below as well in all future videos from the podcast. But trust me, Odin's Vote are amazing. Website is www.odinsvote.co.uk. Get in touch with them now and start buying ASAP. But also, before I forget as well, I just want to say the biggest thank you to Odin's Vote for sponsoring the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you. And trust me, get in touch with them right now. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And peace. What's going on, people? Welcome to a brand new edition of the podcast. And today I'm joined by a really wicked guest today, old friend of mine, Conan Avery, who is a independent artist consultant and Songwriting Camp house. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Very well, thank you, Georgio. Pleasure to be here, mate.
Absolutely pleasure. How's things been, man? All right?
Very well, thank you, dude. I mean, it's been a rocky sort of 18 months for everybody, you know, and I'm no exception to that. But things are good, I can't lie. I moved to Manchester a couple of months, and the consultancy business is going well. Songwriting camps are really kicking off. So, yeah, I'm really good at the minute. How's things with you, dude?
Yeah, you know what? Really good, thank you, man. Really good, really busy. Obviously, the main thing, really busy. But I had a really good chat before the podcast, man. You said, obviously, like you just said, you moved to Manchester a couple of months ago. How's that been for you? Been all right?
Absolutely brilliant, mate. Yeah, I love Manchester. It's a really vibrant city. It's the fastest growing city in Europe. So it's, you know, it's good to be here. Great community, great music community. Yeah, I like it. I just needed a change of pace. You know, I've lived in London pretty much most of my life. Lived in Thailand for a while as well. But yeah, just wanted to change the scenery. So moved up here and moved in with an artist friend of mine who I'm helping out. So yeah, life's great up here, mate. Yeah,
It's brilliant. What made you move to Manchester in the first place? Like you say, it's the biggest growing town in Europe, city in Europe. I mean, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last year, just before the pandemic hit, I got an opportunity. There was a guy with a lot of money who was starting up a label. An artist friend of mine was involved in that, and she asked me basically to come out and help out. So I did. It just turned out to be a bit of a dud in the end. The guy had a lot of money, not a lot of sense, and was essentially a bit of a sociopath, narcissist.
Wow.
So we got out. Yeah, it was unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's life, you know. We got out. My artist friend got out. Another friend who was working in the business also got out. And you know, that was my first sort of entry into Manchester. I'd come up here a few times in the past to do gigs and stuff, but I'd never really spent any time here. So then last year, while this label was being built, yeah, I was here spending a lot of time, and I just fell in love with the city. I didn't get much of a chance to experience it because obviously we were in lockdown. But yeah, then the sort of dust settled on all of that. My artist friend who was a part of that label sort of said, listen, why don't you come back up to Manchester? You know, let's move in together and get going on our own stuff. So yeah, so I just decided, why not? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Brilliant. It's so good. And are you currently working with Greenhouse Artists? Is that the company you're working with?
Yeah, so that's my business. Yeah. So Greenhouse thing. So I've been running camps, songwriting camps, for probably about the last 7 or 8 years. Started doing them in Thailand at a studio called Karma, which is a beautiful luxury studio in a place called Bang Sarai. Started doing songwriting camps there. We were the first people to ever do a songwriting camp in Thailand. So that was quite nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite cool. And, you know, they were great in Thailand. It was really where I learned to curate sessions and sort of put the right people together and organize these kind of events and host these kind of events. I love doing them. I absolutely love a songwriting camp. I really do. So Greenhouse is now the company in which I do my own songwriting camps. Obviously, since the pandemic, nothing's been real world. It's all online. We're doing them all on Zoom, but they've actually worked out great on Zoom. One of my worries about doing them online in the first place was the connection between people. A big part of songwriting camps is the networking element. You want to build relationships. You know, you're meeting new writers, producers, artists. You want to connect and build extended relationships moving forward. And in a real world scenario, in a studio, you're all in the same hotel, eating, breaking bread together. That connection is really easy to achieve. You know, you're in a place together. Online, I thought that would be a lot more difficult, but actually it's not been. And people have been connecting massively through these Zoom sessions. And it's been wonderful to see that those connections, those relationships have been sort of taking root on these online sessions, and people have been going on to continue to work together, you know, post camp, which is the point of it. You know, if you're an early stage artist and you want to come on this camp, it's not just to make songs. Yes, that's a big element of it. You're doing 6 tracks in 3 days. It's 2 sessions a day. I mean, it's intense, you know. But the major thing is, you know, you want to make relationships. You want to connect with even one person on the camp, where that opens a new door to new opportunities moving forward. The camps are essentially a platform. They're a stepping stone. Use the camps when you come on them, you know, for your, you know, the most benefit you can get out of it, which is not just the songs, but it's those relationships. And yeah, they've been going great. I mean, we've done 2 so far this year. We've had 5 songs signed to Universal Thailand. Just had a song away with a big DJ in Europe who has 9 million monthly listeners.
Wow.
So yeah, you know, it's happening. I just need to keep plugging away at it. Do you know what I mean? I really, really enjoy the camps. They're starting to pick up a bit of traction online. So yeah, that's basically it, dude.
That is so good, man. How often do you do? Obviously, do over Zoom now. So it's like once every, say, 3 months, or
about every 2 months.
Every 2 months,
I mean, when I started doing them, I was thinking I want to do this once a month, but it's proven a bit difficult just to get enough people in every month that want to do it. Do you know what I mean? And also pinning down my producers. So I have a team of producers that I pay to make records on the camp.
Okay.
So you're not just aimlessly writing and recording on a voice note. You're making a record, you know. So it kind of depends on, if I can get those guys all in on that same week, then great, we'll do a camp. But if people have got other projects, if they're away internationally, whatever, I'll push it back, you know. So now it's probably about once every 2 months.
Okay.
That's the online ones. I will do a real world one soon. I've just been very cautious with all the, you know, restrictions and everything like that. I don't want to plan something and then, you know, something else happens with COVID and we have to pull it. I will be going back to Thailand again next year, like, again, all sort of dependent on the COVID restrictions. But we have another studio in Thailand now that I'm going to be using called Studio 28, and that's in Bangkok. Absolutely incredible studio. It's a $5 million build.
Wow.
And you can imagine in Thailand how far that money goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the moment those restrictions are down, we will be back in the real world ones. And those ones will be, you know, if we do them in Thailand, it's probably once or twice a year, because it's a big thing. You know, I have to get a lot of clients to come to make it kind of viable. It is an experience as well. So it's a lot to organize. It's not just like putting people in a session, off you go. You know, there's hotels, food, transport. We do day trips. We have spa and massage people come in. You know, it's a lot to organize. So I don't do them kind of regularly. But yeah, once the world's back and running, we will be doing them again sort of once or twice a year for sure.
That is amazing. I don't even invite songs. I want to be a part of it myself.
Come on, man. Yeah, come on.
You mentioned you have producers on your team to be part of the camp. I mean, do you have a big team as well, like other experienced artists and songwriters themselves to help with the songwriting as well? Or is it like a team? How does it work?
The producers are essentially those people,
Okay.
those experienced people. So producers are people like Reese Fletcher, Alex Sipsamos, Barney Cox, who are, you know, they're not massive guys, but they're all big up and comers in the independent scene. So, you know, I think Reese has maybe 200 million streams as a producer. He's got #1s in China and a bunch of syncs, and you know, he works with all the up and coming artists in the UK scene. So, you know, he's great. Alex is great. He's out in Bangkok. He's an American guy that's based out there. I know a lot of people in Thailand just because I live there. Alex, he has so many cool things on at the minute. There's a big like rapper kind of talent show in China, and he just got 2 major cuts out of that. The winner and a sync for the actual show, and that's huge. He also does loads of stuff with big Thai artists. So anyone over there that you see that gets hundreds of millions of streams, Alex is probably a part of the project. So you're like, yeah. So, you know, I get those guys in so that there's structure to the camp. If I just laid it open to any up and coming writer and artist and producer and just said, hey, you know, anyone's welcome. I'm going to throw you in some rooms and you know, write. The likelihood that we're going to get guaranteed quality is quite low. It just is. You need someone in the room that's not leading the session, but someone that's experienced, who can take control of the production, who can push the session if it lulls, and make sure that everybody's walking away with a record that day. That said, also, so when people are making records on the camp, you know, listen, you're doing 2 sessions a day. You're not going to finish a song. You're not going to finish a production. It's just not going to happen. You know, you're in a 5 or 6 hour session. So what we do is, you know, you take it as far as you can. You get your best first draft you can get out of a 5 or 6 hour session. But then what I do is after the camp, I do the rounds with everybody, you know, do a follow up and a sort of an aftercare thing. I see what the status is of all the songs. Right. So, you know, Georgio, you were in a session with Reese and Alex on day 2, session 2. What's the status of that song? Okay, well, we've written the song. We maybe need to rewrite the second verse. We've put the track down. Obviously, needs more production, and we need to lay down the vocal. What I then do is then I'll send a message to you and the team that you were in that day and get you guys to book in a follow-up session outside of the camp that obviously you don't pay for to finish your tracks, you know? So I encourage you guys, get the demos done as much as you can in 5 or 6 hours, but the likelihood is you're not going to get them finished. So you do follow-up sessions after that are at no charge. And that's how we do it.
That's brilliant. And before them, say the actual sessions and stuff, and before the aftercare, do you kind of set them targets and say, okay, this is the introduction stage. This is what I want you to do now. Try and reach these targets and take it from there, or do you kind of let it go?
Not really.
How does it work?
What I do now. So before when it was mainly focused on writing to briefs from publishers for other artists and what have you, it was kind of like that. I would sit down and sort of go, okay, we've got these Latin pop artists here from label X. They're all looking for blah, blah, blah. I would suggest that maybe this team, you focus on blah, 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 and you focus on X, Y, Z. Now, where the camps have evolved and it's become more about artists coming on the camp to write songs for themselves, I do a lot less of that. What I'll do is I'll speak to everybody before the camp and get a gist of what is it that you're trying to get out of this camp? You know what I mean? Like, do you just want to write songs? Okay, great. Cool, you're going to do that. Do you want to write songs for you? Is it specifically for you as an artist to get new records out of it? Is it to make a producer connection? You know, you're an artist, you need a producer moving forward. You want to meet one of these guys and build that relationship. So I figure out what is it that each client is looking for out of the camp first, you know, and then I will curate sessions and put them in with people where I think that they're most likely to get the outcomes that they're looking for, you know. But in terms of sort of like directing them on what to write or who to write for in their session, I leave that down to the team. Let's say, like, you know, let's say we're on the camp and it's me, you, and a producer. Or just you, a producer, and another artist. I wouldn't say to you guys, I want you to write to this brief that I've got for this pop dance act in Sweden. I would say, here's some pop dance acts in Sweden that I have briefs for, but you guys as a team, have a look through the briefs, see if you're feeling any of it. If you're not, see if any of you have got any current projects, whether it's this artist project or maybe you're working with someone else and you've got a project, and work on that. Yeah. So it's really up to you guys on the day, in the team, in the session. What do you want to work on? You know, sometimes I will I will put sessions together purposefully and say, you're working on this person's track today. Because like, let's say I've been talking to you and you're an artist that is doing sad pop and you're of a particular level. And I know full well you're going to work well with this producer of mine and you're going to work really well with this particular writer that's coming on the camp. Now in that session, because I know I do want them to work on this artist's track, that's kind of the point of this session, yeah. I will give them all a heads up. I'll speak to the producer and say, listen, I'll put you in this session with Georgio because I think that, you know, the music that he's doing, your production style suits the most. And I've also put this writer in who is really into that stuff too. I think you guys should write for Georgio today. So, you know, I'll steer it a little bit like that. But at the end of the day, it's down to the individuals in the team, in the session. What do you want to write? What do you want to work on? You know, it's, I don't like to dictate too much, you know what I mean? Because I think actually, I think it sort of stifles creativity a little bit. It's good to have a brief, just to have something to aim towards. It's essentially like, it's just a framework, you know, to get you started. So it'd be like, you know, if you had a bunch of briefs, and some of them were, Latin pop artist, or another one was EDM pop. You read those briefs and it's more of a trigger for inspiration. You go, okay, these people are looking for an EDM pop song that's, you know, 128 BPM in the key of C, with a concept about being one collective consciousness. Okay, great. That's something to aim towards, you know, but if you work so closely to that brief, it will end up destroying your creativity. You box yourself in and you end up writing something that's very prescriptive to the brief. You might tick off all the notes, but maybe when you press play, it isn't engaging because you were just writing to a brief. Be like doing almost paint by numbers, you know, rather than saying, okay, you know, here's a framework for a paint by numbers, you know, there's where I want a scene of, you know, a landscape or whatever to be, but that's just a starting point for you as an artist, as a creative, to go, okay, he wants a scene of a landscape. Now I'm going to I use that as a starting point to head towards, but I'm not going to box myself in with, oh, he wants the sun on the right-hand side with a cloud wisping across it. That might ruin the painting because I'm so boxed in. Same with writing songs. So, you know, I think briefs being used for just a little bit of a starting direction is the way you want to do it. But then let the creativity happen. Let the song emerge and unravel. Don't box yourself into the brief, because that can happen. You know, you've got this brief that is, you know, EDM song, 128 BPM in the key of C, whatever else, and all of these little things. And through the process of trying to fulfill the brief, you might stop a creative idea that comes in because you go, well, that's a bit off brief. But it might have been actually where the song that you're writing really wanted to go. And, you know, you go, oh, well, hang on a minute, that's not, that's gone off the original concept. And it's like, well, fuck the original concept. You know, you're trying to write a great song today. You're trying to make a brilliant production. You know, ticking all the boxes on a brief is all well and good. But actually what I found as well over the years with writers and producers is whenever they tick the boxes on the brief to a T, those songs don't get cut. They just don't. Whereas when people go off-piste a little bit and just go, do you know what, we're going to write the best song we can write today, be creative and fulfill what it is that we do as creative people, which is, you know, you let it unravel and be the facilitator of the art manifesting itself into the world. They're the songs that always get cut to the brief, to the pitch. The one that was sort of slightly off center, that was where the team went off in their own way with it. Because it's all well and good writing the brief, but like with a hit, with anything good, you can't prescribe it. You can't say, well, you know, it has these factors. It's this BPM, it's in this key, you know, the chorus hits at this time. Yeah, I mean, you could write a song that has all of those factors, but it doesn't have the magic. It's that thing, you know it when you hear it.
Exactly,
You know, you can't sort of project onto it. It's going to be this. So, yeah, I mean, I use the briefs just as a starting point for people. It's something to point towards, you know, get you going. But mainly, it's sort of like it's in the hands of the creators. And again, no, that's why I have the production team. I have the producers, because they're people I know I can trust to get a session going. Because sometimes with creative people, you can just sort of meander. You know, you could write anything. So you kind of don't write anything. You know what I mean? Whereas if you go, right, we're going to get going with this, you know, it makes the sessions focused and pointed, you know, which I think is essential.
100%. And you mentioned that you speak to the artists beforehand to see where they're kind of at, like whether they write their own songs or write for other people. If they're, say, a bit unsure of what route they want to take, do you still allow them to be part of the camp and try and find a route for them, or do you prefer someone who knows what they want and then put them into the camp? How does it kind of work that way?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question, mate. There's a very thin line, very thin sort of a range of clientele that are right for this camp. If you're too early stage, if you've never done a co-write, or you've written a couple of songs in your life, this is not the right place for you. Someone like that, I would suggest, you need to do more musical training, maybe go and do a songwriting course, that kind of thing. It's like, this isn't for a very early stage startup who's never really done much. It really isn't. And I will not take money off people like that. There's many reasons for it. It's not good for them. They're going to be if you've never really done a co-write and now you're jumping in with a bunch of pros doing 2 sessions a day, it's a lot, man. And, you've got to be fast. You've got to be good and fast. You've got to be able to come up with stuff here and now. We haven't got a week to write this song. We've got 5 hours. So I wouldn't throw anyone in the deep end in that regard. And people that come to me that are super early stage like that, I send them to other places. I often recommend the Songwriting Academy. If you're early stage and you want to sort of learn how to get going on co-writes and what it is to be a writer, go to them, go do a course with them, or find something else online. Get going with co-writing yourself. Go and find someone at a similar stage to you and build up. Same is true for people that are a little bit further along in their career. So if you're a writer or an artist who's already got a publishing deal, and you already work with a lot of people on the UK scene, you've already got cuts, you've already got records that have got millions of streams, this isn't the camp for you. Again, I wouldn't take their money. And people like that come to me who are sort of beyond what this camp offers, I usually just give them an introduction to someone, either at a publishing company that I work with or a bigger producer or whatever else. Because it's like, listen, I want to help you, but you're actually too good for this camp. And some people know that, you know what I mean? So I'll just put them in touch with publishers I work with, things like that. But yeah, those early stage people, when you're too early stage, you've got to focus on musical training. You've got to be able to hang first, So yeah, it's not for everybody. So I do a vetting process beforehand.
Yeah.
So people reach out, they want to know more about the camp, they want to come on the camp. First of all, I need to know their background. What have you done in music? What is your story? What's brought you up to this point? I need to know where you are at this point right now. What are you looking to do moving forward? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? What have you, what's your skill set at? Let me hear some music. So I'll get all of that information, and then, obviously I press play and I see where they're at. And then we have a chat, and I'm usually brutally honest with people. I'm like, listen, I don't think this is quite right for you now, but there's other places where I think you could go. There is this free camp here where I think you might meet more people on your same level. So it's a case-by-case assessment that I have to do.
Yeah.
And also I do also vet people on personality, if I'm perfectly honest. If someone's really good, but they're really difficult, I'd rather not have them on the camp, because if it's going to cause some shit in sessions, if things aren't going to flow nicely and peacefully, I'm not taking your money. I'd rather my camp run nice, and I'd rather people going, I loved it, I met so many good people, I had a great time, rather than saying, yeah, it was all good, but that one guy, I don't want that, So yeah, we vet it to make sure that everyone's getting the value that they need to get out of it and not being shortchanged or not being too out of their depth, because I've had that before on a camp. I remember this one camp where I was a bit short on numbers, and I was like, you know what, I'll let these 2 people on. And it was just a huge mistake. One of them just massively lacked confidence. It wasn't that she was bad, she was decent, but it was too in the deep end for her. It was overwhelming. You know what I mean? And especially when you're with other big characters and people that are like, want to be writers and artists and whatever else. There's a lot of big personalities there. And she struggled. And I felt really bad about that afterwards. Because it was like, I made the wrong move there, allowing her on the camp. She wasn't ready for it. And I had another guy, similar sort of thing. He just wasn't ready musically, couldn't hang, and same thing. I really regretted letting him on, for him and for the sake of the camp, because it's like, a camp is only really as strong as its weakest link. You know what I mean?
It's so true.
You know what I mean? You've got to kind of have everybody on that same wavelength. And I think personality is actually probably the biggest factor. Yeah, you've got to have some skills. You've got to be able to deliver on the day. I think the major thing is you want people going, I loved that session with Georgia. Oh, thanks for putting me in with him, man. Like, he was great.
Yeah.
That's the energy I'm trying to cultivate on these camps, you know.
Yeah, kind of the exact same with the orchestra, man. Like if you're working with the right people, it shows on the stage, doesn't it? Your work shows, it shows, and it's just an overall better experience, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because I've been so blessed to work with some of the most amazing people in the orchestra. They're so lovely and caring and funny. And obviously I've come across a couple of people that have been a bit of a nightmare to work with. And it just ruins the whole experience, doesn't it? Of literally everything. It's like when they walk in the room, you can feel that kind of tension, can't you?
Yeah, and who wants that?
Exactly.
You know,
who wants that?
We're doing music here. We're not looking for a cancer cure. This is fun. We're trying to connect to people's souls and entertain them.
Yeah.
And I would rather work with musicians and writers and artist producers who are maybe a little bit less skilled, but are excellent to be around and make me feel really excited to work on the project, rather than work with a virtuoso or a master producer who's an arsehole.
Yeah.
It's all well and good. We strive for excellence. We want to make the best stuff. We want to be in the best sessions. You know, of course we do. But I want to go to bed fulfilled at night as well. I don't want to be going to bed going, yeah, we've got a killer project that's doing really good numbers, but I hate dealing with this. I hate this person. I hate their attitude. I hate the energy around this. I don't want that. Yeah. I'd rather have less success and be like, I love music. I love my life. I love what we're doing. That's the real fulfillment right there. You know,
100%.
So
yeah,
that's important. All that stuff.
Yeah, and do you have a sort of size limit as well for your camps? Say like 10,
yeah,
20, or
yeah. Well, online I do it up to about 15.
Okay.
We usually use 4 or 5 producers. Any more than that on an online one, I just find it becomes very disconnected. The smaller they are online, the better, because then everybody gets to work with everybody. So there's a real camaraderie and that relationship building aspect of the camps. It shines because you actually get to work with everybody once or more than once, so you actually get to know them. Whereas when you've got 20, 30, 40 people on a camp, you know, I might be in a session with you and go, oh, well, I just did a session with, so-and-so.
Yeah.
You'd be like, who's so-and-so? And you might not see them for the whole camp.
Yeah.
And it just creates a bit of a disconnect. So yeah, I do have a size limit on them. The ones in Thailand are a bit bigger. You have to do real world ones a bit bigger because there's so much more expense. You know, hiring the studio itself is tens of thousands of pounds. You know what I mean? Then hotels for 30 people, 3 meals a day for 30 people, transport for 30 people. It's a lot, you know what I mean? So to make it valuable, to make it not too expensive and it still make money, you've got to get a lot of people on. I mean, I could hike the price up if I wanted, but I just think, well, I'd rather get more people and then get extreme value for their money. It's a bit more work for me, but that's the better way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned you lived out there for a little while as well. How was that? What was that like to live out in Thailand?
Dude, wow. I mean, Thailand, it's a wild place, it's quite lawless and yeah, it can be dangerous, but I tell you what, it's one of the most fun places I've ever been. The people are outstanding. The general culture and day-to-day way of life is very appealing to me. They live in the spa, they live for massage. So it's very relaxed, nice lifestyle. I think working in music out there, I think that sort of lifestyle of Thailand, it's not the most productive for a music career. They have this thing called Thai time, which basically means everybody's late for everything, you know what I mean? And so doing business out there can be a little bit tricky, but it's really fun. It was so much fun. And where we were really started to act as a hub for a lot of different sort of musical activities in the whole of Asia, not just Thailand. We were working with Avex in Japan and all sorts of different organizations, it's very exciting actually out there. Look, music business-wise and music kind of culture-wise, yeah, Thailand is what it is. I mean, it's not the biggest market, but it's big enough, 70 million people. It is what it is. You're never going to get a worldwide star come out of Thailand, just the nature of it, do you know what I mean? But dude, is it worth it? Is it worth being in the music industry over there? Yes, 100%. I mean, my buddy Shane Edwards, fantastic record producer, this guy, Australian guy, lives in Bangkok. I mean, for him, he could go anywhere in the world right now, any top studio, and get a senior engineer, senior production job anywhere he wanted. But for him, you know, it's the fun of being in Thailand, working with these Thai bands, the lifestyle of it. That is the thing that, you know, it's, I mean, great. If you're a producer working out in Metropolis in London, you know, it's great. You're working in the business. This is pro as hell and whatever, but you still live in London. You know, it's still sort of that grey lifestyle that we have. Whereas, you know, Shane, he lives in Bangkok. So he gets out of the studio session and it's like, right, cocktails on the roof bar. You know, so the lifestyle is very appealing. And look, it is a growing territory in terms of its music and entertainment businesses as well. It's been stuck in the mud over there for many years. There was basically 2 companies that run everything. And really there was one called GRM Grammy. And they were very, I mean, you know, you hear of labels sort of being controlling, but I mean, GRM, wow. You know, really? they own everything to do with you. Everything to do with you as an artist, they own it forever.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, there's dodgy publishing out there, basically no publishing. So it's, you know, it's a little bit lawless and a little bit what have you, but I do see it emerging, and Thai music's getting much more modern. More and more people are moving to Thailand to do business. I think it's one of the fastest. I think it's one of the places where most entrepreneurs, emigrate to. So that's interesting. Yeah, look, it's an amazing place. If you think you're going to go there and have worldwide success in the music business, think again. But if you think you can go there and build a career and have an excellent lifestyle doing so, yeah, you think right, you know.
Yeah, because sometimes that appeals to more people, doesn't it? Having that lifestyle plus the business behind it. So it's like a win-win, isn't it? Basically.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know, like what we were saying earlier, you can spend your life sort of striving for the top dog kind of stuff. You want to have a big artist, you know, have a big record and be massively successful. But if that comes at a cost to your own well-being and sense of fulfillment and all of that, I mean, is it worth it? Like I say, I've been around quite a few really wealthy people, and I have to say, I don't want that. I've met a couple of billionaires, I've met a couple of people with hundreds of millions, and I would rather have a financial success that is adequate, but my day-to-day fulfillment is there, like 100%.
Definitely.
And I think the same is true in music business. I want artists to look. I mean, you have a big hit, but you're not happy. Well, it wasn't any good, was it? You know what I mean? Whereas if you have steady, you know, growth and you're fulfilled, that's good. Yeah, that's where it's at. Like, I think going to bed with a #1 record and $1 million in the bank, but depressed, sucks compared to going to bed with, you know, some new fans, happy in your progress, made positive steps forward this morning, and feel fulfilled from what you're doing. That's what it's about, because life's short, and if you spend so much of it caught up on the big wins and, you know, being a hit artist and all of that, you're never actually going to enjoy yourself. You're always there. And from my experience, people that I've met that have attained it, you know, the big records, the big deals, all of it, they're never happy after. I was chatting to a guy on a consultation call the other day, right? And he was telling me about a producer on TikTok that he's friends with. I won't say his name, but this guy has blown up recently because he's produced a couple of songs for people on TikTok who have blown up, like, massively. And literally overnight, you know, this guy's life changed, and offered a massive deal. I think he got $250,000 out of capital, you know, as a producer. You know, one of the records he produced, #1 in the States. So, you know, his life changed in a couple of weeks, like literally massively. And they had a big signing party. He's got the money in his bank and blah, blah, blah. And then he calls his friend, who was the guy I was speaking to on the consultation call, calls his friend the next day and says, bro, you know, I'm #1 in the country. I'm working with 2 of the biggest artists in the country right now. I have $250,000 in my bank account. We had the biggest party last night. Why am I depressed today? Why am I still depressed? It's like, because that ain't it. Your progression as a producer, as an artist, your day-to-day steps forward is where the juice of life is. You know, the big record deal, the hundreds of grands advance, the big hit, I see them as mountaintops, right? We're all trying to climb mountains and get to those mountaintops. We all want 1 million streams. We all want, 1 million record sales. We all want a manager, a label deal, whatever else. But it's the climb of the mountain where we spend most of our time. And that's where most of our learning is, most of our joy comes from, the understanding of what it takes to get to the top of the mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, it's short-lived. You get what happens when you get to the top of the mountain? You take a look around, you take a picture, you put a flag in the ground, then what? You either walk back down the mountain or you find another one to climb. The real juice is in the climb. So that guy, who a couple of big hits and a load of money in the bank, he reached the mountaintop. He reached the mountaintop that he was trying to climb. And he got there and went, was that it?
Yeah.
I've put my stick in the ground. I've taken a picture. Is that it? And it's like, yeah, that's it. The mountaintop is only a small element of life. And if everything's attached to that, you'll never be happy. Be aware that like the wins and the losses are short-lived. It's the climb that is the juice, Now for that guy, who I obviously don't know, I was sort of talking to a friend of his about this. There's only one way that I can think for that guy to sort of not be depressed. Get back on the grind. Get back on the thing that brought you those artists on TikTok, that made you blow up, that made you get the deal in the first place, which was focus on the craft. Focus on moving forward. Daily progress. That's where the climb. That's where the juice is. And hopefully that guy will know this. And next time he reaches a mountaintop, he'll be self-aware enough to go, I'm at a mountaintop, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to celebrate. Great, we reached the mountaintop, back on the climb. Immediately after.
Yeah.
Win or lose, by the way. I was just thinking about that. I was watching Champions League final the other night, okay? And I'm not, I used to be a football guy, but I'm really not. I haven't followed it in years, yeah? But I was watching the game. And at the end of the game, it really struck me. The joy of Chelsea players. I mean, you see it in their faces, you're like, oh my, they're at the top of the mountain right there. Yeah. They've just won the Champions League. And the disappointment, the failure, the death of Man City. You look in their faces, just, so gut-wrenchingly bad, disappointed. But what occurred to me was, this is just a moment. And this moment will pass. They're elated right now and they're devastated right now. But this isn't the be-all and end-all of these people's careers or these clubs. What happens on Monday morning after this game? They get back in the gym, win or lose, both teams. They get back on the training field. They get back to the progress, the thing that's going to see them through, back on the grind.
Yeah.
One win or loss in a game, be it, a Sunday League or the Champions League final, is short-lived. It's short-lived. It's back on that climb that is where the juice of life is, And I think that's something I really want to get across to artists and just music people in general. It's like, you've got to remove attachment of your self-worth and your sense of, emotional well-being. It can't be attached to the outcomes of your music. Just like with Chelsea or Man City players, their sense of who they are as footballers and their purpose and progress moving forward can't be tied to that one night. It's got to be tied to the climb. Right, what went wrong? Back in the gym, let's work it out.
Yeah.
Right. What went right? How do we keep this momentum? Back in the gym, let's work it out.
Yeah.
Same with a writer, artist, producer. You know what I mean? We all want these mountaintops, but we've got to realise the juice of life is in the climb.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I couldn't agree more. And talk about that kind of that work ethic as well, and football and stuff. It's like with Ronaldo, for instance. Every player that talks about him say he's the first one in, the last one out, every single day. Even now, at his age, even now, he's like late 30s, now 36, 37, whatever he is. He's still putting in that work ethic now because he knows, like you just said, like every career, or a lot of them, especially in the sports industry or the music industry, is short-lived. But he's still putting in that work every single day to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what people miss, I think, a lot of the time, is that kind of work ethic and obsession to be the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. And just follow the artistic journey, because the journey of the artist is not, it's not to get a hit record. It's not to become a huge artist. That's a part of the journey. The journey is that of artistic exploration, and that never ends. What you're working out as an artist is who you are and where you fit in the world. Trying to figure something out through doing this. That's the journey you're on as a creator. The external success of it, okay, like, yeah, that's commercial and that's like real world and that's great. But like you just said, like, let's say when an artist's career is over, They've had a 30-year run. They've been a big star. They've had 5 major records. They've toured the world multiple times. And now it's, you know, they're kind of no longer relevant or whatever. Do they stop making music? No, of course not. That person's still in there. You know, you look at a Prince or someone like that. Well, they was in the studio every day, because what was important? The journey of the artist. It's them chipping away. It's like, yeah, he had a big hit song like last week. Great. I don't end here. That's one little node, one little checkpoint on the path. You know what I mean? And again, it's like, that was the Champions League final win. You put Purple Rain out, you get a big hit. Champions League final, we won. Yeah. You put another record out and it's a flop, and you go, oh, we lost. Back in the gym, back on the grind, back in that studio, focusing on the journey, the artistic progression, where you're figuring out yourself and your place in the world. You know, how people respond to that is kind of neither here nor there. Really. Yeah. The true artist journey is I think is not even interested in external response to their music. They probably don't even release it. You think about, you know, artists, visual artists, painters who spent 50 years painting paintings they never showed the world. Now, that was an artistic job. Why were they doing it? Why were they painting? To figure something out, to get better at the craft, to explore the craft. How people putting it out there and it being received from the audience is another element of it when you're trying to build a career. But the actual core of the artistic journey is just in the creation of the work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah, it's true. And talk about Prince as well, and that work ethic as well. You must have heard the story about that apparent vault that he has of like literally thousands of tracks of unreleased material. Yeah. That was like a goal. I was talking to Oki about, as you know, about the same sort of thing where that work ethic, he's literally got like a vault of unreleased music. I mean, if anyone can find that, it's like a gold mine. But I remember actually talking about TikTok as well, actually. I remember one of the clips you put up about, you put up some amazing advice on there, amazing advice on different things. And I know you mentioned about, for instance, like if Billie Jean was out now, it wouldn't quite work. I mean, what's your kind of take on the industry as it is now with TikTok as well? Has it changed everything completely, do you think?
Yeah, but things change all the time. You know, radio changed the way people consume music. MTV changed the way people consume music. MySpace changed the way people broke into the industry and consume music. You know, then Napster did. You know what I mean? And then Spotify, and now here we are with TikTok and Spotify. It's building blocks of culture. You know what I mean? It's evolution. And when I was talking the other day about Billie Jean probably not cutting through as a song right now, I think it's obvious why not. You know, that cut through as a song in the culture when it was. Yeah. Now, everything's happened since then and led us to where we are now. So if Billie Jean had never happened and Michael Jackson had never happened, he was an artist coming into the world right now. He wouldn't be writing songs that sounded like Billie Jean in the first place. He'd be writing songs, at least production-wise, that sounded like 2021 records. You know what I mean? Because
definitely.
That's what we'd be breaking through with now. And I used that analogy about like people that would sell ice to freeze your food.
Yeah.
You know, once fridge freezers came around, it just meant that like that's where the culture was. It doesn't mean that using ice to refrigerate your food was shit. It just means that like it's not relevant anymore. Culture moves on. You know, whenever I say things like that as well, people get very upset. Billie Jean would definitely be a hit now. And it's like, okay, what about a Mozart classic? And I had people saying, well, no, you can't compare that because it's not 21st century. And it's like, well, okay, so will Billie Jean be a hit if it was released in 150 years from now? No, it wouldn't, because the culture, technology, the way we consume things would completely move on. You know, not to say Billie Jean shit, of course it's not. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. Michael Jackson's the big king, obviously. But we've moved on from there. And therefore, what happened there? You know, it'd be like putting out a car that was very successful in the 80s, re-releasing it now. Why do you think it would do well? Yeah, it was a great car. Bloody one of the greatest of all times. But when we're here now, and we have Teslas, so of course it wouldn't do well. Not knocking that car manufacturer. I think it's just obvious. You know what I mean?
Obvious. It is.
Really culture moves on, and what is relevant and production and the way we consume it all moves on. That said, I think it's with the TikTok thing, I think it's very easy for people to get sucked into an instant reward system by trying to feed it with something that will blow up. You know, so that's happening. So you're getting, you know, what you know about rolling down in the deep, getting those kind of motifs that are popping up where people are trying to write something that's going to work in a 5-second clip and hopefully connect in a big way. Great. Okay, people did that with MTV. So we're going to make a music video that has that kind of impact. Sure, great. And people are going to do well doing that. But I just think fundamentally that shouldn't be what your focus is as an artist. You know, you use TikTok because there's an amazing opportunity for organic reach and organic growth. Still put out stuff that's true to you and that you want to see put out into the world. But if that is, if what's true to you is, I just want to blow up with something that's a viral fucking thing, then you go ahead. You know, but if you're someone that wants to build a long career and have songs that connect to people, then don't do it like that. Utilize TikTok and the way to build an audience on there, but you don't need to be trying to write something that sounds like a viral TikTok sound. You can if you want, but like, I think a lot of artists get caught up in that too much. There's one girl, you must have heard her audio, and nothing hurts anymore, I feel kind of free. Now, I don't think she intended for that to be a viral audio, but it's become one. But it's not like now she's now like, oh, I need to jump on and do more of these viral trending audios. No, she's just doing what she does, which is writing and singing absolutely heartfelt, beautiful stuff. She did one yesterday on a TikTok that's just stunning. And it's like, yeah, okay, look, if things pop off and if the viral nature of the way TikTok works plays into that, then great, okay? But I think the core is, if you're a true artist, you just keep following your what you want to do, what you want to put out, and then just put it out in the delivery mechanism that is TikTok.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%. And talk about those viral sort of things as well. It's so random with what actually works, doesn't it? It's like that, for instance, that clip from, I think it's like the Housewives or whatever it is, of the little girl going, "Wake up in the morning." Think about so many things like, you know, like things like that just blow up, and thinking.
Yeah. It's impossible to plan for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because also, like, old songs and old sort of audio clips are being revived. So that Noisettes one is big again now. I'll never forget you. That was what, 15 years ago, that song?
Something like that, yeah.
So the nature of the content in which the first person that used that to make that trending thing, that piece of audio worked for the nature of the piece of content that they wanted to make, and then that became viral and became its own meme, so therefore it gets used again. But how do you, as a creative, project and predict, right, we'll write this 3-second motif and it's going to go viral? You have there's no way. How could anybody have known that sipping cranberry juice rolling on a longboard would have revived the entire Fleetwood Mac catalogue?
There we go. No one knows.
So I think planning for and trying to execute on these flash in the pan viral moments, I think it's a silly strategy because it's so out of your hands. Whereas I think what is in your hands is focusing on the long game as an artist, your creative development, trying to write songs and make music that connect with people on a deeper level. If a clip of that happens to go viral, and nothing hurts anymore, I feel kind of free, like that did, then brilliant, that's a bonus. But I just think you can't plan for that, and you shouldn't. You know what I mean? You'll also always be chasing. You know, a friend of mine knows the guy that did Crazy Frog.
Really?
And man, they made an absolute fortune. Before Crazy Frog, the guy was just like everybody else, a writer, producer, trying to get somewhere, doing this, that, and the other, working with artists, working for Sync, anything you could do, just like everyone does. And then Crazy Frog happened, and then obviously shifted his lane and said, well, we're just going to do ringtones. And they had a couple that did okay after that, but nothing that ever got anywhere near Crazy Frog. And I think you can't. How can you plan for a viral cultural moment? Sea shanties, Nathan Evans.
There we go.
How do you plan for that? You don't.
You can't. Yeah,
Someone feels something and it happens to go viral. And again, okay, that's another example of having something go viral outside of your niche isn't necessarily going to convert to fans for you. So it's not like sea shanties are back now. You know what I mean? That was one culturally significant moment that happened that was beautiful to watch. It was great. But sea shanties aren't back. And Nathan Evans is his own artist in his own right. Is the numbers accumulated from the sea shanty, cultural moment going to translate to his original music? The answer is no. You might get some, you know what I mean? So, planning for those things and then trying to leverage off of it to bring you something that's sustainable, really unlikely. You know what I mean? But saying that, try everything. If you want to try something that goes viral, why not? I've got nothing against that. Do you know what I mean? Not at all. It's, you know, I'm happy for these people when they blow up and they make something happen. And more often than not, the reason people weren't blowing up with their original music is it's not quite there. So if something else happens that makes them culturally significant and they got an opportunity to go with it, I'm like all for that. I'm like, you go for that. You know what I mean? If I had a video blow up and get millions of views and people were like, we want more of this, and it had nothing to do with music, I know what I'd be doing. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to play into that a little bit. But then, you know, that said, you can't play into it all too much, or you're just chasing again. You're trying to chase that crazy frog or another viral moment. It's a weird balance that we're all trying to find with all of this. You know, I think there is no answer. What works for one doesn't work for another. You've just got to follow your own intuition and do the things that feel right to you. You know, so we see someone like a Nathan Evans doing the sea shanty thing, and the mistake a lot of people make is, I'm going to jump on the sea shanty thing. And it's like, does it feel right to you? If it does, if you've got something to say, if you've got something to add to it or to parody it, or you just loved it so much, you're like, I've got to do my own version of this, then cool, that'll probably come through. But if your intention is, that's viral, I'm going to do it because it's viral and hopefully I'll get some, it's not going to work. Because your heart's not going to be in it anyway. You're not doing it because you like it. You're doing it because you're hoping other people will say, oh yeah, I've seen that viral video, here's some likes. Yeah. That's also not sustainable. It's just not. You're always going to be chasing someone else's trend, you know. So, but, you know, again, down to you as an individual. The trend thing is very interesting. I've been doing a lot of thought on the trend thing on TikTok. At first, when I first got on TikTok, I was saying to artists, probably steer clear of it. Probably steer clear. You know, do you want to blow up doing some random trend that's got nothing to do with your music and then it doesn't convert? But I've reconsidered that. How I view trends now is a bit different. Okay, I see trends now as a template. That's what a trend is. It's a template, just like a meme. A meme is a template, and it's the template that gets passed around. And then we as users, we insert our own content into the template that's relevant to us, our field, our followers, whatever else. So, you know, I'm in a Sopranos group. I like the program, The Sopranos, TV. So when you see memes, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a classic meme. Name a classic meme, any classic meme. What can't I think of?
Well, I think of the way coming fast one, but that's
okay.
Why
Are you coming fast? Yeah, all right, let's try that as a meme. Why are you coming fast? And then people will change the caption. Let's say I'm in recruitment. Someone will change a caption to make it relatable to people in recruitment and share that around. So that meme is a template, and then someone in the Sopranos group that I'm in will insert Sopranos related content into that template and make it relatable. Okay, great. That's what a trend is. It's a template. And I think the way you want to use those templates is to insert your own content into them. So I think if you're a music artist and you're doing original stuff, use a trend, but try to insert your own music into it to make sure that it's relevant to actually what you're trying to do. Yeah. I wouldn't jump on a trend that by its nature is miles away from your niche, or that you're inserting content into a trend that has nothing to do with your niche. So, you know, if you've been plugging away doing music, you've been putting out original music on TikTok and it's doing nothing, and then a trend pops up and you insert your own content into that's to do with your girlfriend or boyfriend, it's relatable to do with relationships, and then that gets 750,000 views, don't expect any of that to come back to your music. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, yeah, whatever the content was that you inserted into that trend, inserted into that meme, that template that was relatable about the relationship thing that you put in there, the people that have responded to that were relating to it on that level, obviously. You know, so I think if you're trying to leverage trends to build an audience for your music, make sure the content you're inserting into the trend is your music. That's how I would use it. You know what I mean? But also just don't get lost in the sauce with trends. It's the same thing. You're always chasing. And the thing with a trend is, where does it come from? What is a trend? Okay, well, it's an idea, a template, a concept, a piece of content that floats around that a lot of people like. But where did it start? It started with one creative individual that made a piece of content that other people felt, oh, I can do something with that. Now, as a creative, an artist, whatever, I think rather than looking out and going, oh, what trend should I jump on? It's like, be a trend setter. You're an artist. You are the one that tells the world what's up. You're a spokesperson for morality and values and perspective on the world. And you tell us, you kick the door down. You tell us what's going to be noticed. Make a trend. Yeah. You know, if someone was creative enough to come up with some original piece of content that everyone liked, you are creative enough to do that as well. You know, why not try and do that? Be original. How about that?
Yeah.
You know?
Talk about that, actually. It's something that about a year or two ago, which I thought was amazing, was when Travis Scott did his Fortnite concert.
Brilliant. I loved all of that. And Diplo did it. Yeah, I loved all of that.
Yeah, because I thought that it's so original. Obviously, Fortnite is like the world's biggest game, or at least it was for a few years anyway. Yep. And just to jump on that trend with his background to do a Fortnite concert, and then dip, like you said, Marshmello as well, and a couple of other people, I thought that was amazing. What an amazing thing to do. Yeah,
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Smart, creative, fun, you know, outside of the box, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then the thing is, and you know, think about it again, like trends. So they did that. So Travis Scott did that. And then what happens? Other games are trying to do live shows and VR concerts and all of that. And so they jump on the trend, but it starts out with someone being original and being creative. Mm. And this happens constantly throughout culture and across subjects. So, you know, look at when Billie Eilish blew up. You know, it was original. I think that's what it was with her that set her apart at the time. You know, this almost ASMR whisper type singing, this low-key production that was vibey as hell, and beautiful classic kind of songs in there amongst it. It was original, you know? And then obviously that blew up. But then what did you see straight away after? And this is what you see every time something blows up. A million copycats. A million wannabes, a million people going, oh, well, that's in now. I'm going to do something like that. And it's like you missed the point.
Yeah.
Why did that pop? It was original.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So true.
And who else is in that sphere, that stratosphere of kind of, you know, top elite artists that sounds anything like Billie Eilish since her? Nobody. Of course not. Because Billie Eilish occupies that space. You know what I mean? So that's a massive takeaway. I think original artistry, look within yourself. You're a creator. Come up with something. Stop looking out at everyone else's creations and leveraging off of it, which is fine. I mean, we're all doing that constantly. I didn't create this laptop. I didn't come up with the concept of Zoom. We're leveraging off of it, for sure. But if you're calling yourself an artist and you want to have impact in the world, then be an artist. Have impact in the world. Be creative. Be original. You know, be fucking original. Be the one that sets the trend. You know, rock the world. Change it up. Being an artist in its essence isn't asking people like me how to be an artist. That's not, you know, that's one thing I think about with this line of work a lot, actually, is like, should I be doing this? Should I be telling someone this is what you want to do to be a creative person? Because if you're really a creative person, you tell me to go fuck myself. You say, I know myself, I know what's right, you don't, I'm a creative, you watch me. And then, you know what I mean? And I want to see people prove me wrong, but you know, like, I didn't see that coming because they were so creative. You know what I mean? That anything that I told them didn't mean shit, because like they were single-minded, they had vision, they knew they were right, and they executed on it. You know, and that's what I want to see from artists. And I think that's why I do what I do, actually, is actually to empower them so they don't need me.
Yeah.
I don't want you asking me, what should I put out for content? You put content out and you tell me what's up. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, it's about kicking doors down as an artist. Go full Kanye. Go Lady Gaga in a meat dress. Don't sit on the sideline going, oh, well, you know, maybe I'll try this. And they did that, and maybe I'll do a little bit of that. It's like, no, man, life's short. You're an artist. You want to have impact. Fucking tell me what's up. You know what I mean? Show me. Don't ask for permission. You know what I mean? I say, oh, should I do this because this is what people do on TikTok? You tell me, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
you
couldn't
tell
agree
me.
more.
You want to be a megastar? Do you think Lady Gaga's asking anyone for permission?
Yeah.
You know, asking, what should I, what do you reckon about the meat dress? Is it a bit too? I don't think so, mate. And it's not like she could look outwards and go, well, when Madonna did the meat dress thing, it went like this. No, she had to be bold and step into it, not knowing how it was going to be received. You know what I mean?
So like, true.
That's what it is. It's a strength and a bravery that's needed as an artist, and knowing, you know, that I'm right. And I'm going to do this thing. I don't care that it hasn't been done before. I don't care that people might not get this. I know. I'm an artist. I'm following my intuition. People listen when you do that. People start to take notice, you know?
100%. And we've seen before the pod as well that obviously now you're a consultant, which is like your life calling, like you felt. But over the years, you've founded labels to manage them, being a talent scout as well.
Yeah.
How did you originally get started in music yourself? Because obviously we met at SAE back in 2007, like 14 years ago, which is mental. Or was
Yeah.
engineering there. How did you kind of get started in music to where you are now, to being a consultant?
Yeah, well, so it's a wild ride, dude. I mean, I started out, I'd say, like everybody else, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to make my own music. Um, so we first met at SAE. I had done Northwest Kent before that, so I'd done a music college before and did audio engineering and what have you. Really, I wanted to produce. I wanted to engineer. I think that was where I started. But then I kind of wanted to do the artist thing as well. So anyway, when I met you at SAE, I'd already got my first job in the industry. I was working as a receptionist at a studio called Rogue.
Rogue, yeah.
And quickly moved on to engineer. So I was engineering by the time I got to SAE. And, I was just working, I started out working with all your local bands, recording pub bands, rock bands, cover bands, all of that, and the occasional artist, voiceover, things like that. Just general engineering work. After I worked there for sort of like 5 years, doing that thing, doing a lot of live sound as well throughout that time, up and down the country with different bands. And it was through engineering and recording people that I kind of moved into songwriting and production. I'll tell you what it was. I was working with a lot of indie bands, and this sounds so arrogant, but I got to a point where I felt like I could write a better song than this. Mm. So I started pushing more towards, I want to learn how to. So I did, and I was relentless with that. So I would be recording bands from like sort of 10 till 8 every day, and then staying in the studio from like 8 until 4 in the morning, working on writing and learning production and stuff like that. Then I met a guy called Dario Dendi, who was an in-house engineer producer at Eden Studios, which is now closed down. But that was where like people like Elvis Costello and stuff would work a lot. He had worked with Sugar Babes, Coldplay, Girls Aloud, all stuff like that.
Mad.
We met through a band that we'd both worked with, and he liked my writing and suggested that we did a session together. He had an artist that wanted some songs. So we did that, and it went really well. We wrote some songs for this artist. We got some good money. And then he was like, listen, do you want to do this as a partnership? I was like, yes, I do, So we formed a writing and production team. We got on the scene in the UK. We got a publishing deal. We were mainly sucked into writing for J-pop and K-pop. And I probably spent 3 or 4 years just doing that and getting nowhere. I didn't like the music. I didn't like the scene. I was chasing it just for money. I wasn't very good at it. And I ended up getting quite bitter and resentful towards the whole situation. So that was a huge mistake for me, that whole situation. But I finally kind of realized, I'm killing my love for music by doing this J-pop, K-pop thing. And nothing against J-pop, K-pop. One of my best friends is a K-pop writer. And I actually like it. I'm not going to lie, but making it, I didn't like it. So I transitioned out of that, carried on writing, but mainly stepped into sync. That was where I found most of my success as a writer and a producer. I got a couple of really good connections at like production companies, and I got loads of stuff. Pepsi, Yahoo, Foster's.
Wow.
I was lucky. I got a Huawei mobile. I mean, I've done loads of adverts. Walker's Crisps. Regain for Men was the last one I did. The full one.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did all right in that. But I got to a point where I just sort of realized that I'm not really cut out for doing this as a career, being a writer, being a producer. The discipline required, and I knew it, was out of what I wanted. I didn't want it in the same way that some of my peers wanted it. And they were working in a way that showed me that, and I had to reconcile that, because I'd been sort of convincing myself for years that what I wanted was to be a Max Martin type, to be a worldwide hit songwriter. And it took me a while to actually reconcile the fact that I didn't really want that. I think it was an idea that I implanted in my mind to give myself a sense of something to aim towards. But actually, I wasn't that bothered about writing a hit song. I wasn't. And I started to realize around that time that, like, I love the business. I just love this industry. I love the game. I just love it. I love everything about it. Yeah, I love making music, but is that my career path, So I started getting more drawn to the business side around that time. And I'd been lucky. I'd met a guy called Chris Craker, who was a senior vice president at Sony, through basically being a bit outspoken on Facebook. I'd made a status about saying fuck Japan and the music business out there and whatever else. It caused a lot of grief. But Chris was one of the people that actually reached out to me and said, I liked what you had to say, we should meet. So I knew Chris from that. And then around this time, when I started to realize I wanted to move more into the business, I thought, right, how do I do that? Who do I know? How can I get in around it? And I thought, I know Chris Craker. He reached out to me. maybe I can reach out to him. You know what I mean? Like, he opened the door. So I did. And I'd read in a book about, you know, trying to get mentorship and trying to get around more successful people. If you've got nothing to offer your time, offer to work for free. So I did that. I sent him a message like, listen, man, you know, I'm on a new path. I'm looking to move into the business. I just thought I'd reach out. Anything you need, I'll happily work for you for nothing, for a little bit of time, as long as I get to learn something from you, you know. And he loved it and was just like, great, let's talk next week. So we did. And he, you know, within 10 minutes on the call, he's like, come out to Thailand. He owns Karma out there. He's like, come out to Thailand for a month. I'll put you up. Let's see what we can do. Did that. Had a great month. We did a hell of a lot. And yeah, I came back to London for like a month or so. Chris came back out over here. We met again at a networking event, and he just said, listen, come move to Thailand. Because we had been working on a couple of projects since then as well. One was a boy band that we were trying to put together with Nick Gatfield, who was a former CEO of Sony. So, you know, we were building plans for that. And he just said to me, listen, Conan, come to Thailand. Let's do the boy band, work at the studio. Like, I want you to come and work there. So I was like, fucking hell, I'm not passing this up, you know. So yeah, I did. I'd been managing a couple of writers and artists and stuff, so I sort of dropped them, which maybe wasn't the kindest thing to do, but I had to follow that path and moved to Thailand. And what a blast. Learned so much, met so many amazing industry people across the world. And it was just a very experimental, entrepreneurial kind of adventure, really, in music, with Chris mentoring me, which was just brilliant, I have to say. So, I mean, I can't even go into what we did there. I did so much. Songwriting camps, I mean, liaising with Diplo and Skrillex and hosting, you know, Pete Doherty and DVBBS, and touring with big Thai artists, you know, and running a studio, a world-class studio, and dealing with management of that, dealing with people and dealing with big record labels, Avex and Warner and all sorts of things like that. So I was really thrown in at the deep end and realised that this is what I love. I love the game. I love this just entrepreneurial mess that we're in, you know. And then from there, you know, I was doing good things, setting up the songwriting camps, and a lot of artist development we were doing there as well. And I got headhunted for the job at X Factor UK. A friend of mine was working there and just said, listen, they're looking for scouts. Do you want to do it? And I just thought, you know what? I do. I want the name. I want to be able to say, because that had been something I'd struggled with before, was having legitimacy when you don't have @Sony Music on your email or the like, you know what I mean? So I thought, well, I'm going to do the X Factor to leverage off of it. You know what I mean? So I did it. At first I loved it. I'm not going to lie. I thought this is so exciting. I'm working on a, you know, big, massive TV franchise, and it was exciting. It's just not a music thing. It's a TV show. And, you know, that became apparent quickly on. I didn't really like how they treated musicians, but again, it's a TV show. It's not about music. You know what I mean? But anyway, I did 2 years there. One of my acts got second place. That was Anthony Russell. Wow. That was quite a nice achievement. And then straight after that, I got introduced to Rick Blasky, through the same person, by the way, who got me on the X Factor. Now, Rick was behind Whitney Houston's early career. He was an A&R at Arista, sold 8 million records with her. Rick also manages, or did at the time, managed David Garrett, who is a, you know, world-class violin player. And Rick is also behind Football's Coming Home. That whole project was his brainchild. Every World Cup anthem, Rugby World Cup anthem for the last 20 years Rick's been behind that. So, and he also managed a couple of artists as well. So he was managing David Garrett and managing a couple of younger artists when I was working with him. So I worked with him on all of that stuff, helped him develop a show for Netflix and for YouTube. What did I do after that? Oh, then I got a job with the Songwriting Academy, met Martin Sutton. Martin's awesome. That lined up really well. Throughout all of this, by the way, I was doing songwriting camps and, you know, helping managing people and developing people and doing general entrepreneurial stuff as well. Then I met Martin Sutton, came on board with him just to help with social media to start with, and sort of reinvigorate their brand. It was all just a bit, logos and stuff were a bit dry. So I just sort of pushed him to sort your branding out, you know, sort this out, work more on socials. Everything else, he didn't need any. I mean, this guy's a genius songwriter and an absolutely outstanding teacher. Really, really is. I can't recommend the Songwriting Academy enough. And then, yeah, so did social media for them and then joined as a mentor, teaching people social media, artist development, things like that. And then this thing came up in Manchester. I was quite happy at the Songwriting Academy. I was quite happy doing their camps with them, working with Martin. But then this thing came up in Manchester that seemed like too good to kind of pass up. But in the end, it turned out to be too good to be true. Met this, basically an artist friend of mine, fucking great girl, one of my best friends, to be fair. She had got in with this multi-millionaire dude who wanted to start a label. Common story, people with money want to get in music. And it was just, it was a bit of a mess. So she called me and was like, listen, you know, we're in this situation. There's a lot of money. They need help. Can you come, you know, and help? You know, and I'm like, yeah, fucking hell, sounds good. You know what I mean? A lot of money there. So I moved to Manchester. Well, I came up and spoke with the people and whatever else and got sold on the idea of the project and what have you. And it just turned out to be a real big dud. Just a typical horror story of a multi-millionaire trying to step into music who hasn't got a clue. Sociopath, narcissist, dictator, wants to own people's lives, has no clue about music. I mean, you know, he'd only just heard of Max Martin because I'd been mentioning him, and he kept getting it wrong, calling him Max Clifford. You know, that's the kind of idiot that we're dealing with. And it turned out to be a very, very toxic situation. 3 of us left, essentially, and then many, many more afterwards. The artist that got me in originally got out. I got out at the same time with her. She managed to get out of the deal and get a payoff, which was great. Another friend got out of the company altogether. So, you know, that was just lesson learned. The main lesson learned for me on that one was stop giving your power away to multimillionaire entrepreneurs and thinking that a pat on the head from them is going to get you ahead in life. It's not. You've got to walk your own path. And so actually, I'm really grateful for everything that happened with that label sort of failing. And the overhype of it, because I mean, mate, I was on a lot of money and given them, you know, $2 million flat and the over-Finch Range Rover, and it was all very exciting, but it was shit, you know. And in the end, it gave me strength to be like, listen, you know, yeah, an over-Finch is nice, $1 million flat's nice, lots of money in the account's nice, but if you're working on something that is utter crap and that is with nasty energy, it's not the one. And it just pushed me to be like, listen, stop looking for the ex-vice president at Sony, the ex-Arista, the multi-millionaire to kind of give you validation. You got to walk your own path. And I think that's what led me to be like, right, I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to walk my own path. I'm going to add the value in the areas that I can add it with the clientele that I want to be working with. And that's consultancy. That's doing my camps. That's, you know, helping artists build their careers. And actually, so with all of that happened last year, and listen, it was a hard time. I'm sort of being quite flippant about how bad this situation actually was. It was terrible. It led to a mental health breakdown. I got very depressed afterwards, and I wasn't the only one. Many people around the situation did. So it was a tough thing, but it gave me strength. It gave me strength to walk my own path, to stop looking outwards for external validation and look inward for strength, and to walk that path myself. My destiny is in my hands, not that of a senior vice president of Sony, not that of a multimillionaire that wants to start a label. It's me. It's my path. And me cultivating that strength for myself is actually helping me pass it on to my one-to-one consultancy clients. I'm trying to get it through to them. It's like, you don't need me. You think you do. You come to me for the pat on the head or for a little point in the right direction. What you need is to cultivate internal strength, is to walk that path with confidence yourself. Make mistakes, get it wrong. Don't worry about it. Stop trying to get it perfect. Follow that intuition and do it for yourself. Just like you with the podcast. This isn't for anyone else, you know. This is your gut tells you, I've got to do this for me. I'm going to do it. You don't look outwards and go, oh, how do I get a VC for my podcast? And how do I get in with another big podcasting company? That's giving all your power away, you know. And in the end, I think people get lost in life because we do that, because we give our power away to some other external situation, be it a boss, an opportunity, whatever else. The Buddhist quote, you alone must walk the path, I think is the most empowering, you know. Yeah, we walk the path with other people. You don't do everything alone in life, but fundamentally, you do have to do what you feel like you should do. It's your life. It's your career. It's not anyone else's. Anyone else can give you advice and can give you pointers and can say, this is what happened when we tried that. And this is what happened when they tried this. But it's you alone must walk the path, you know. It's just like with anything, dude. Anything, there comes a point when you can't just stand on the edge of the pool, dipping your toe in, asking people, what's it like in there? You've got to jump in. You've got to find a swim for yourself, man. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, I think that's what my journey's led me to. is a deep sense of empowerment, and I want to share that and pass that on to early stage people. And I really want them to not make the mistakes that I made, to not be attached to outcomes, to not follow things that are just for commercial endeavors, and to not go with things that seem too good to be true just because there's money. Follow your instinct, go with what's right to you. You know the answers, you do. You're a very powerful being. We are told that we're not. We're conditioned to think that we're weak. You're a human being on planet Earth, unlimited power. The things that you can achieve if you believe in yourself are out of this world. And that's what I want people to do. I don't want artists going, do you think I should jump on a trend? Or what do you reckon about Submit Hub? I don't want to, that's not an art. I want an artist going, fuck that. I'm going to do this. And for us to go, Jesus, I didn't see that coming. Whether we like it or not, you're an artist. You're your own person in life, and I think that's what my journey's led me towards, is to find that out about myself, that I'm an extremely powerful human being if I believe in myself, and to pass that on to early stage artists, writers and producers.
Yeah. And your journey's been so inspirational. It really has. And are you doing okay at the moment as well? You said you had a bit of an issue at the last place, but are you doing all right at the moment now, though?
Oh, I'm good. Oh, mate, honestly, I'm good. This place in Manchester, we're in the most beautiful flat. We've got a 400 square foot balcony that's all ours.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, we've got it, honestly, I cannot complain. I wake up every day very grateful, look, that was tough last year with that label, but shit happens. Mm-hmm. Shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the journey of life. What you're going to do? That was a hard time. So what? And also, things are relative. I think we need to bear that in mind. Artists, writers, producers. For me, I could have been very, very down about what happened with that label. I've moved halfway out the country. I've given up a lot of things and turned out to be crap. But so what? So what? Are you going to be attached to that forever? Like, give it up. You know what I mean? And yeah, just walk that path yourself.
Definitely. And that is like the most perfect way to end the podcast. But I couldn't think enough of today. I really honestly enjoyed it so much. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on, man. Really, honestly, when I saw you land in my DMs, my face lit up. It was a pleasure to hear from you. And it's been a pleasure to talk on this podcast, dude. Thank you so much for having me, man.
It's an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much as well. And before we go, actually, how can people find you online as well?
Yeah, cool. So if people want to reach out and do a one-to-one consultation, or if you want to find out about my songwriting camps, find me on Instagram, Conan.Avery. Just send me a message, follow me, whatever you want to do, I'll find you and I'll reply back. Most of the content I'm putting out now is on TikTok, and I think that's Conan John Avery on there. So if you want to just get free sort of stuff that I'm talking about, go on TikTok. That's where most of it is. If you want to reach out, hit me on Insta.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you, Conan.
Thanks a lot, man. Speak soon, Georgio.
Take care. Bye-bye.